So for my dashboard, I chose to do the user experience, and the way I made my dashboard was by taking large amounts of information and putting them into small graphs. And most of my graphs have to do with the salesperson and how many units they sold. That was my main focus when I created my mock-up questions. So while I created my dashboard, I focused on what I liked and what I didn't like, because that was the whole part of the user experience. And when I interviewed my person, I would be able to understand them better if I focused more on that, since I was asking them the questions I created. And I decided to make 7 charts that had to do with the large amounts of information. Overall, this dashboard has taught me how to take large amounts of information and put them into charts to visualize what was actually happening, because I never was too familiar with Excel. But after creating my dashboard, it's safe to say that I feel much more comfortable working with Excel. And I found that the more you work with it, the easier it gets, ultimately, which makes it less frustrating. And not only did I personally feel this way, my interviewee felt this way because her name was Belinda. She felt the same way because she was super familiar with Excel because that's what her job entailed, but she never really knew what a dashboard was. And so after I explained to her what the purpose of it and how I did it, she was able to follow along. Just like the longer I practiced and more graphs I made, I felt more comfortable with Excel. And I learned that making a dashboard step by step gives you the most benefits, because you're able to focus on one chart at a time, and then you actually know what you're doing and you can remember. And then with my mock-up questions, I was able to make organized graphs to best portray what information I was trying to show, either to my workplace or in this case to my interviewee. The most frustrating thing I found about making my dashboard was creating the macro, because I find macros overall useful, but to make them, they're kind of tedious, because once you start recording, you can't make a mistake, because if you record that mistake, then your whole macro is messed up. So I had to do that several times in order to make my macro work, so I thought that was most frustrating. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What I liked most was the fact that my overall product, because not only was it liberating that I was actually finished, it made me feel proud of what I worked so long and hard on. And at the end of finishing my dashboard, I changed all the colors and designs my graphs, and that was a nice change, because instead of doing like confusing macros or what if functions, I was just working with the design. And so most of all, creating my dashboard taught me several things that I can use in the near future, and in a way I can remember it, because it wasn't like taking a test where you just forget all the information you studied for after the exam. And it comforts me to know that I can create a project like that even though I didn't really know how to do Excel. And plus, like, I basically taught my dashboard to someone else, since my interviewee didn't know, and that in doing so, just practice makes perfect. So with more practice, the better you are at Excel and making a dashboard.